Attention operators and infrastructure defenders, welcome to this Code Ninja Security Advisory. We are issuing an emergency security broadcast today regarding a critical vulnerability that just dropped, CVE 2026-6918. So let's jump right into this explainer. If you're running Java applications, specifically anything relying on Eclipse OpenJ9, you need to lock in right now. We practice coordinated vulnerability disclosure, or CVD, to force fixes and protect the perimeter. And honestly, today's intel, it's absolutely vital to keeping your systems online.
32. Yeah, that's the terrifyingly simple hook of this exploit, a mere 32-byte custom-crafted TCP message. That is literally all an unauthenticated remote attacker needs to entirely crash your Eclipse OpenJ9 just-in-time server infrastructure, the JITServer. I mean, think about that for a second. 32 bytes is practically nothing. It's less data than a basic text message. Yet, because of a massive memory safety oversight, sending that tiny payload over the network instantly triggers a complete denial of service condition. No credentials needed, zero user interaction required. Now, the primary objective of this disclosure broadcast is crystal clear. We have to provide immediate mitigation intelligence and force a vendor patch across all vulnerable environments. We aren't just analyzing data today, folks. We're mobilizing. By outlining exactly how this attack works and who is exposed, we're arming blue teams and sysadmins with the exact telemetry they need. We've got to protect those vital Java applications and secure the perimeter way before threat actors can operationalize this exploit at scale. To really understand your vulnerability management window, let's trace the rapid, coordinated vulnerability disclosure lifecycle that hit on May 5th, 2026. Transparency and tracking are crucial here. At exactly 9:16 a.m., the Eclipse Foundation, acting as the CVE numbering authority, officially published the initial record detailing this 32-byte crash. Boom. Exactly 1 hour later, at 10:16 a.m., CISA ADP modified the record to append the official GitHub security advisory link, ensuring downstream scanners had the right exploit context. By 4:08 p.m., the National Vulnerability Database, the NVD, completed its initial analysis and mapped the vulnerable configurations. That is less than a 7-hour window from initial publication to full NVD analysis. The clock is already ticking.
Moving into Phase 2, Communication Link Setup. All right, operators, pause the briefing and lock in your comms links right now. Here's your immediate directive. First, subscribe to @Cybertech79 and enable notifications. Treat this as a security necessity for real-time intelligence. When the next 0-day drops, this channel is your early warning system. Second, I need you to like this broadcast to formally acknowledge to ACK receipt of this intel. Finally, we need telemetry. Comment your current status below. Are you patched or are you vulnerable? Sound off in the comments so we can accurately gauge the blast radius of this threat in the wild. Comms are locked. Let's move into Phase 3, the deep dive and blast radius. So the root cause of CVE 2026-6918 is cataloged as CVE-125, which is an out-of-bounds read. Let's break down what that actually means for your infrastructure. Basically, this is a fundamental memory safety flaw where the software attempts to read data way past the intended boundary of a memory buffer. When the JITServer receives that crafted 32-byte TCP message we talked about, it miscalculates or just completely fails to verify the boundaries of the data it's processing. It reads into memory it absolutely shouldn't access, and the system's immediate response to that severe violation? It crashes. That is exactly how a tiny network packet turns into a complete, system-halting denial of service. Quantifying this severity reveals a pretty grim picture. Under the newer CVSS version 4.0, this vulnerability carries a critical base score of 8.7, categorizing it as high. The CVSS version 3.1 score also registers as a high at 7.5. Now, you might be wondering, why so severe? It's because this attack requires zero privileges and absolutely zero user interaction. An attacker simply fires the TCP message across the network and they're done. The availability impact is massive because it rips your application offline without a single warning. So, who exactly is in the crosshairs here? Well, the common platform enumeration configurations explicitly outline the vulnerable scope for blue teams. If your infrastructure is running Eclipse OpenJ9, you're vulnerable from version 0.21.0 up to, but strictly excluding, version 0.59.0. Let me repeat that for clarity. If you are on 0.58 or anything below, all the way down to 0.21, you are entirely exposed to this trivial remote attack. You are only considered safe if you're running version 0.59.0 and above. The absolute crucial point here is this. The blast radius is vast, and the barrier to entry for an attacker Practically non-existent. We're dealing with a pre-authentication attack vector, meaning the attacker doesn't even need a username or password to touch your systems. They require zero interaction from your users, no shady phishing links to click, no malicious files to download. It's a strictly network-based denial of service that results in complete infrastructure crash capabilities. Leaving those legacy versions of OpenJ9 exposed essentially guarantees that someone is going to remotely disrupt your vital Java infrastructure. Awareness is only the first step, though. Let's enter the mitigation protocol.
Here is your direct path to security. Command your teams to execute this remediation protocol immediately to force this attack vector closed. Your primary option is to update Eclipse OpenJ9 to the unaffected version, which, again, is 0.59.0 or later. Now, if a full version upgrade breaks dependencies in your environment and you can't immediately migrate, you do have a secondary option. Apply the specific mitigation patch referenced by the Eclipse Foundation in pull request number 23793. This brilliantly illustrates the power of coordinated disclosure, right? By the time the threat is public, the exact roadmap to safety is already mapped out for you. Go patch your systems.
Moving on to Phase 4, Ethics and Disclosure.
Transparent, coordinated disclosure is the bedrock of a secure digital ecosystem, and proper attribution is a core pillar of the white hat community. Credit for discovering and properly reporting this severe memory safety vulnerability belongs entirely to security researcher Sebastian Josue Albavives. It takes rigorous, intense analysis to identify how a mere 32-byte message can topple a complex system. And by reporting it responsibly, this researcher allowed the Eclipse Foundation to develop a patch way before the vulnerability could be widely weaponized.
So, why do we broadcast this intelligence? Why lay out the attack vectors so publicly? It's simple. Users need to know to protect their systems. Obscurity is not security. If the white hat community keeps quiet, the adversaries are still going to find these flaws. But the defenders, they're left fighting in the dark. Rapid, transparent intelligence sharing is the only viable way to protect the perimeter against evolving, trivial-to-execute network threats like CVE-2026-6918. Information is your armor.
Operators, your mission is clear. Review your telemetry, check those Eclipse OpenJ9 versions, and execute the patches immediately. The threat actors are already scanning. The only question is, will they find your perimeter locked down, or will a 32-byte packet bring it all crashing down? Apply the protocols, harden your defenses, and as always, stay secure.